Gathered Saturday to remember the life of 21-year-old Camryn Olivia Price.
She had a big impact in the Chester community and other surrounding communities, so it's good to see some of her old clients, friends, family members, people from church, everyone.
Last April, Camryn was shot and killed in Atlanta. Now her family has put together a way for everyone to remember her.
The security camera captures it all. 3 a.m., April 4th, 2023. A vehicle races onto Interstate 75 North near the Memorial Drive exit in Atlanta. The passenger window completely gone. Shards of glass cover the seats. Blood streaks across the dashboard. In the passenger seat, a 21-year-old woman from South Carolina is dying. Gunshot wounds to her head. The injuries are so severe that her skull has been fractured open, exposing brain tissue. Her breathing is shallow. Minutes, maybe seconds left. Her name is Camryn Olivia Price. She's a hairstylist. She came to Atlanta for a weekend visit with someone she'd recently started dating. Just hours ago, she was laughing, dancing, enjoying the nightlife at one of the city's most famous clubs. Now she's bleeding out on a highway while her partner, the driver, frantically searches for help. He's injured too. Cuts from flying glass, shrapnel embedded in his skin, but he'll survive. Camryn won't. Here's what makes this case extraordinary. Camryn had no enemies. No conflicts, no dangerous lifestyle. Her family, her friends, even the police would later confirm the same truth. She wasn't the target. But she's the one who died. So the question becomes, how does a young woman whose entire career was built on making others feel confident and beautiful become collateral damage in someone else's war? What happened in the hours leading up to that moment on Pryor Street? And who decided that violence was worth an innocent life? Welcome to Real True Crime 24/7. May you and your family stay safe wherever you are. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, because we bring you the parts the media never reported.
Our daughter was all about, making people feel good, putting smiles on people's faces, making them feel beautiful on the inside as well as the outside. Unfortunately, of course, her life got cut short. And so we just decided to do something in honor of her and her memory to continue her legacy.
For that legacy, her family has started the Camryn Olivia Foundation. Camryn's family says although only 21, she was contributing so much to the community. So now the foundation is a way to keep that going.
Before we get into the full story, here's what you need to know about the case that would shock a small South Carolina community and expose dangerous cracks in Georgia's probation system. April 4th, 2023. Camryn Olivia Price, 21 years old, leaves Magic City nightclub in Atlanta with someone she's recently started dating. They walk to their car on Pryor Street. She gets in the passenger seat. He drives. That's when another vehicle pulls alongside. So close, it's almost touching the passenger door. Then the shooting starts. Multiple gunshots, glass explodes. The driver is hit by debris, but no bullets. Camryn, in the passenger seat, takes multiple rounds to the head. Her parents rush to the hospital from South Carolina. What they see will haunt them forever. In their own words, seeing your daughter laying in the hospital bed with her brains hanging out of her head, my God, that is a hard pill to swallow. Camryn dies shortly after arrival. 7 months later, police arrest Jacori Echols, 22. But here's the shocking part. They don't have to hunt him down. He's already locked up in state prison for violating probation from a 2019 conviction. The trial is swift. The verdict, guilty on all counts. The sentence, life without the possibility of parole plus 65 years. But the charges tell us something critical. Murder, felony murder, and aggravated assault. That combination means Camryn wasn't the target. She died during an assault aimed at someone else. So who was the real target? What conflict existed between Echols and the man driving that car? And how did a man on probation for financial crimes escalate to murder? Over the next 27 minutes, we're going to examine every detail. Camryn's life as a hairstylist dedicated to building confidence in others. Echols, criminal history, and the system failures that kept him on the streets. And the family's choice to transform grief into something that honors their daughter's legacy. This is the story of Camryn Olivia Price, a woman whose legacy isn't defined by how she died, but by how she lived. On July 7, 2001, Lancaster, South Carolina. That's when Camryn Olivia Price entered the world. By the time she turned 21, she'd found her calling, hairstyling. But ask anyone who knew her, and they'll tell you it was never just about hair. Her parents, Jesse and Creighton Price, understood what drove their daughter. They'd watched her work, they'd seen how she interacted with clients, and they could summarize it in one sentence. She was all about making people feel good and putting smiles on people's faces, making them feel good on the inside and outside. That wasn't marketing language. That was Camryn's actual approach to life. By 2023, she'd built a reputation in Chester, South Carolina's beauty community. But here's what made her different. She wasn't chasing celebrity clients or high-end salons. She focused on teenagers. Specifically, students who couldn't afford professional styling for prom. Think about what that means. Prom is a moment when insecurity hits hardest, when young people are desperately trying to feel confident, attractive, worthy. And Camryn dedicated her skills to making sure the kids who felt invisible got to feel seen. She didn't charge them. She didn't ask for recognition. She just did it because, according to everyone who knew her, that's who she was. Her friend Netta would later try to capture Camryn's energy in words. "Cam, your vibrant personality is like none other. You are so full of life and an inspiration and uplifting to others." Another friend, Sandy, wrote something that cuts to the core of what this case represents. "May your name never go unspoken." Because here's the tragedy. Camryn's name almost did go unspoken. She almost became just another statistic, another victim in Atlanta's crime reports, forgotten within a news cycle. But we'll get to that. Early April 2023. Camryn had recently started dating someone. The relationship was new enough that even her family didn't know much about him. He invited her to Atlanta for the weekend, visit friends, experience the city's nightlife. Just a normal trip for a 21-year-old woman. Camryn was excited. She told friends about it, packed her bags, made the drive from South Carolina to Georgia. She had no idea that the man she was dating carried associations, conflicts that had nothing to do with her. She didn't know that somewhere in Atlanta, another man named Jacori Echols had a problem with her partner. She couldn't have known that the passenger seat she'd casually choose on the night of April 3rd would determine whether she lived or died. In Atlanta's nightlife world, the wrong car can be a death sentence. The wrong association can get you killed. And the wrong seat, passenger side versus driver side, can mean the difference between walking away with cuts from glass or dying with your skull fractured open. Camryn Price was about to learn that lesson in the worst possible way. While Camryn spent her days building confidence in teenagers, Jacori Echols spent his days building a criminal record. 2019, Cobb County, Georgia. Echols, then around 18 years old, was convicted of financial crimes. The specifics aren't fully public, but the outcome is he received probation. Not prison time. Probation. A second chance. The system's way of saying, you made a mistake, don't do it again. Echols had 4 years to prove he could stay out of trouble. He couldn't. Now here's where the timeline becomes critical and where the system's failure becomes obvious. April 4th, 2023. Camryn Olivia Price is shot and killed on Pryor Street in Atlanta. The investigation begins immediately, but no arrests are made. Weeks pass, then months. During that same spring of 2023, after Camryn's murder, Jacori Echols is accused of committing additional crimes. We don't know exactly what those crimes were. Court records keep certain details sealed, but we know this: those new offenses violated his probation from the 2019 conviction. Let that sink in. A man on probation commits a murder in April. Then, instead of laying low, instead of disappearing, instead of showing any concern about being caught, he commits more crimes. Crimes serious enough to land him in state prison for probation violations. So by the time Atlanta police identified Jacori Echols as Camryn's killer in November 2023, they don't need to hunt him down. They don't need to track him across state lines. They don't need to stake out his known addresses. He's already locked up, already behind bars, already serving time for violating the probation he should never have received in the first place. This is the kind of offender that makes probation officers and judges lose sleep. Someone whose criminal behavior doesn't stay static, it accelerates. Financial crimes in 2019, a shooting death in April 2023, more crimes after that. each offense more serious than the last. And the entire time, from 2019 to 2023, he was supposedly being monitored by Georgia's probation system. But here's the question that will haunt this case. How did Jacori Echols' path cross with Camryn Price's? They didn't know each other. They had no personal history, no shared friends, no shared spaces, no shared conflicts. Camryn lived in South Carolina. Echols operated in Georgia. Their worlds shouldn't have intersected. But they did. On Pryor Street, at 3 a.m., outside Magic City nightclub. The connection wasn't between Echols and Camryn. The connection was between Echols and the man driving the car. The man Camryn was dating. The man whose conflicts, whose enemies, whose dangerous associations she knew nothing about. And that's the brutal reality of collateral violence. Camryn Olivia Price didn't die because of anything she did. She died because of who she was sitting next to, the passenger seat. That's what killed her. If she'd been driving, if her partner had been in the passenger seat, he'd be the one who died that night. She'd be the one with glass cuts, traumatized, but alive. But that's not what happened. Camryn got into the passenger seat, and Jacori Echols positioned his vehicle on the passenger side. And when the bullets started flying, she took every single one. Let's talk about what Camryn knew versus what she didn't know. She knew she'd started dating someone. The relationship was fresh, maybe a few weeks, maybe a couple months. Knew enough that when her family would later speak to investigators and reporters, they didn't use the word boyfriend. They said romantic partner. That specific language tells you something. This wasn't someone they'd met multiple times. This wasn't someone who'd been to family dinners or holiday gatherings. This was someone Camryn was still getting to know. Early April 2023, he extended an invitation. Come to Atlanta for the weekend. She could visit friends who lived in the city. They could spend time together, experience Atlanta's nightlife, the clubs, the music, the energy that makes it one of the South's entertainment capitals. For a 21-year-old woman from Chester, South Carolina, a town of about 5,000 people, this was exciting. Atlanta meant something different, bigger, more alive. She said yes. Now here's what Camryn didn't know, what she had no way of knowing. She didn't know who her partner associated with. She didn't know what conflicts he carried. She didn't know if he owed someone money, if he'd disrespected someone, if he'd been involved in something that created enemies. And here's the critical thing about new relationships. You don't ask those questions in the first few weeks. You don't sit someone down and say, hey, does anyone in Atlanta want to hurt you? Do you have beef with anyone? Should I be worried about getting shot if I get in a car with you? You just don't. Because that's not how normal people approach dating. But Camryn wasn't dating a normal situation. She was dating someone who, whether he knew it or not, had drawn the attention of Jacori Echols. Somewhere in Atlanta, a conflict existed. The exact details remain sealed in court records, protected by ongoing investigations or legal agreements we don't have access to. But the criminal charges filed against Echols tell us everything we need to know. Murder, felony murder, aggravated assault. That combination isn't random. Prosecutors don't charge aggravated assault alongside murder unless the assault was the primary crime and the murder was a consequence. Legal translation. Echols intended to assault someone, to hurt them, to shoot them, to send a message. Camryn's death was what the law calls collateral damage during the commission of a felony. Someone was the intended target that night. Camryn just happened to be sitting next to him. Late March 2023. Camryn is living her normal life in Chester, South Carolina. She's working at her salon. She's styling hair for clients. She's mentoring cosmetology students, teaching them techniques, giving them confidence, preparing them for prom season. She's also planning her Atlanta trip, packing clothes, coordinating with friends who live in the city, texting her partner about plans for the weekend. Everything is normal. Everything is safe. Early April 2023, Camryn makes the drive from South Carolina to Georgia. It's about 2.5 hours, straight shot down Interstate 85. She arrives in Atlanta, checks in wherever she's staying, meets up with friends. The next few days are exactly what you'd expect from a 21-year-old on vacation. She's texting her family back home. She's posting on social media, pictures with friends, food, the Atlanta skyline, just normal vacation content. Her parents aren't worried. Why would they be? Their daughter is visiting a city, spending time with friends, enjoying herself. There's no reason for concern. April 3rd, 2023. Monday night. The plan is to go out, specifically to Magic City, one of Atlanta's most famous nightclubs. It's located in southwest Atlanta, known for hip-hop music, celebrity appearances, a high-energy atmosphere. For tourists and locals alike, it's a destination. Camryn and her partner arrive that evening. They're there for hours, dancing, drinking, socializing. She's in full vacation mode, relaxed, happy, completely unaware of what's coming. Now here's what we know about Magic City's location and the surrounding area. Pryor Street, where the shooting would occur, is directly adjacent to the club. It's where people park, it's where they walk to and from their cars. It's also a place where if someone wanted to watch who was coming and going, they'd have a clear view. Was Jacori Echols inside the club that night? Was he watching from outside? Did he follow them from another location? Those details haven't been made public, but what we know for certain is this. By the time Camryn and her partner decided to leave, Echols knew where they were. He knew what car they were in, and he was ready. Around 3 a.m., the club is winding down. Camryn and her partner decide to call it a night. They walk out of Magic City, cross the parking area, head toward their car on Pryor Street. She's tired, it's been a long night. She just wants to get back, get some sleep, maybe grab breakfast in the morning before exploring the city more. She opens the passenger door, gets in, puts on her seatbelt. He gets in the driver's seat, starts the engine, pulls out of the parking spot, and that's when everything changes. Another vehicle appears. Not behind them, beside them. It pulls up close to the passenger side, so close that witnesses would later describe it as almost touching. Camryn might have noticed it. She might have looked over, confused about why another car was so close. Or maybe she was looking at her phone, texting a friend, completely unaware. We'll never know what her last thoughts were. We'll never know if she had a moment of fear or if it happened too fast for her to process. What we do know is this: the window next to her exploded. Glass shattered inward. Gunshots, multiple gunshots, tore through the passenger side of the vehicle. Her partner in the driver's seat was hit by flying glass and shrapnel. Painful, bloody, but survivable. Camryn in the passenger seat was hit by bullets, multiple rounds, direct impact to her head. She didn't have time to scream, didn't have time to understand what was happening. One moment, she was a 21-year-old woman heading home from a night out. The next moment, she was dying. Her partner, bleeding from glass cuts but still conscious, did the only thing he could. He pressed the accelerator and drove. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew they needed to get away. He ended up on Interstate 75 North, near the Memorial Drive exit, before he fully processed what had happened. That's when he realized the passenger seat was soaked in blood. That's when he realized Camryn wasn't moving. That's when he called for help. But by then, it was already too late. 3 a.m. April 4th, 2023. Magic City's lights are still flashing, but the crowd is thinning. The music is lower. People are heading to their cars, calling Ubers, making plans for late-night food. Camryn and her partner are among them. They've been there for hours. She's exhausted, the good kind of tired that comes from dancing and laughing and living. They walk across the parking area toward Pryor Street where their car is parked. She opens the passenger door, slides in, probably pulls out her phone to check messages or change the music. He gets behind the wheel, turns the key. The engine starts. They pull out onto Pryor Street. 3:01 a.m. Behind them, or maybe from a side street, we don't know exactly, another vehicle appears. It doesn't keep a normal distance. It accelerates, gets closer, too close. The driver might notice it first, might glance in his rearview mirror and feel that instinct that something isn't right. But it's 3 a.m. They're both tired. And in a city like Atlanta, traffic can be unpredictable even at this hour. Maybe he thinks it's just an aggressive driver. Maybe he thinks they'll pass and move on. They don't pass. 3:02 a.m. The attacking vehicle pulls alongside them, not behind, not in front. Alongside, specifically on the passenger side where Camryn is sitting. Witnesses who saw it happen would later give police a detail that explains everything. They pulled up so close on the side, which was on camera, the passenger side, and they just started shooting. So close they were almost touching. Close enough that missing would be impossible. And then the gunfire starts. Multiple shots, rapid, deliberate, all aimed at the passenger side. The sound of glass exploding, the sound Camryn's partner will hear in his nightmares for the rest of his life. Camryn is directly in the line of fire. Her window shatters. Bullets tear through the door, through the seat, through her body. Multiple rounds to the head. The force of the impact is so extreme that her skull fractures. Brain tissue becomes exposed. Her partner, sitting just 2 feet away in the driver's seat, isn't hit by a single bullet. But the glass, the exploding window, the shattered windshield sends shrapnel into his face and arms. He's bleeding, in pain, but conscious. Camryn doesn't make a sound. She doesn't scream, doesn't gasp. The injuries are so severe, so immediately catastrophic, that there's no time for her body to even register what's happening. One moment she's a living, breathing person. The next, she's gone. But her partner doesn't realize that yet. His brain is in pure survival mode. The gunfire stops. Either they're out of ammunition or they're satisfied with what they've done. The attacking vehicle speeds off into the night, and Camryn's partner does the only thing his body will let him do. He floors the accelerator. He's bleeding from glass cuts. His vision is blurred. He doesn't know where he's going. He just knows they need to get away. He needs to find help. He needs to get to a hospital, to police, to anyone. He ends up on Interstate 75 North. Drives for what feels like hours, but is probably just minutes. Near the Memorial Drive exit, his adrenaline starts to fade. The immediate terror subsides just enough for reality to set in. That's when he looks over at the passenger seat. That's when he sees Camryn. The entire right side of the car is destroyed. The window is gone. The door is riddled with bullet holes. Blood, so much blood, covers the seat, the dashboard, the center console. And Camryn isn't moving, isn't breathing. Her head, the injuries are so severe that he can see skull, brain tissue, things a person should never have to see on someone they care about. He's still bleeding from his own injuries, but compared to what he's looking at, his wounds are nothing. He calls 911. His voice is shaking. He's trying to explain what happened, where they are, but the words aren't coming out right. The operator stays on the line, tries to keep him calm, asks if Camryn is breathing. She isn't. Paramedics arrive within minutes. They've seen gunshot wounds before. Atlanta emergency responders deal with violence regularly. But when they see Camryn, when they see the extent of the head trauma, they know this is critical. They load her into the ambulance, start emergency procedures. But the reality is already clear. These aren't injuries people survive. The brain damage is too severe. The blood loss is too extreme. They rush her to the hospital anyway. Because that's the protocol. Because her family deserves every possible chance. Because no one wants to make the call to pronounce a 21-year-old dead at the scene. She dies shortly after arrival. The doctors do what they can, but there's nothing to be done. The bullets destroyed too much. Hours pass. Back in Chester, South Carolina, Jesse and Creighton Price receive a phone call that no parent should ever get. Their daughter has been shot. She's at a hospital in Atlanta. They need to come immediately. They make the 2.5-hour drive in probably half that time, racing down Interstate 85, praying the whole way that when they arrive, their daughter will still be breathing. Still fighting, still savable. But when they arrive, Camryn is already gone. What happens next, what they're forced to see, will stay with them forever. Jesse Price would later try to put it into words, though no words can really capture what it's like to see your child like that. Seeing your daughter laying in the hospital bed with her brains hanging out of her head, my God, that is a hard pill to swallow. Not, she had head injuries. Not, she was shot. Those phrases are too clinical, too distant from the reality. Her brains hanging out of her head. That's what Jacori Echols did. That's the level of violence he brought into their lives. While the family processes the unimaginable, Atlanta police begin piecing together what happened. They interview the partner who was driving. They collect evidence from the car, bullet casings, trajectory analysis, blood spatter patterns. They pull security footage from Magic City's parking area and surrounding businesses, and the evidence tells a clear, consistent story. The attacking vehicle positioned itself specifically on the passenger side. Not the driver's side, the passenger side. The driver was injured by glass and shrapnel, but he wasn't shot. Not once. Despite being in a car that was hit with multiple rounds, not a single bullet struck him. Camryn, in the passenger seat, took every bullet, all of them. This wasn't random. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. This wasn't road rage. This was a targeted attack. Someone wanted to hurt the person in that car. But the person they wanted to hurt was driving, and Camryn was sitting in the passenger seat. Her parents know this immediately. They know their daughter. They know she didn't have enemies, didn't have conflicts, didn't live a life that would make anyone want to harm her. They tell police, they tell reporters, they tell anyone who will listen. Everybody loved Camryn. Everybody. I'm talking about everybody. I know it wasn't her that they were after. But knowing she wasn't the target doesn't make her any less dead. Knowing she was innocent doesn't bring her back. And it raises the question that will fuel the entire investigation. If Camryn wasn't the target, who was? What conflict existed between Jacori Echols and the man driving that car? What was so important, so intense, that it justified opening fire at 3 a.m. on a public street? And why? Why did an innocent woman with her whole life ahead of her have to pay the price for someone else's war? April 4th, 2023. Atlanta Police Homicide Unit catches the case. On paper, it looks straightforward. A shooting outside a nightclub at 3 a.m. But when detectives start pulling the details, nothing adds up the way these cases usually do. The victim is Camryn Olivia Price, 21 years old, from Chester, South Carolina. No criminal record, no gang affiliations, no drug connections. She's a hairstylist, works with teenagers. By every measure, she's exactly the kind of person who shouldn't end up dead on Pryor Street. Her family is adamant she had no enemies. Zero. The kind of universal statement that detectives usually dismiss as family bias. Everyone wants to believe their loved one was innocent. But in this case, the investigators can't find a single person who says otherwise. Not one conflict, not one dispute, not one reason anyone would want Camryn dead. So the focus shifts. If Camryn wasn't the target, then who was? The answer is obvious. The driver, the man she was dating, the man who walked away with glass cuts while Camryn died. Detectives start building his profile. Who does he know? Who has problems with him? What conflicts exist in his life that might explain why someone would open fire on his car at 3 a.m.? The investigation proceeds quietly. No press conferences, no public appeals for information, just methodical police work, interviewing witnesses, analyzing evidence, following leads. And the evidence they collect tells a consistent story. Security cameras from Magic City's parking area captured the vehicles, the timestamps, the movements, the moment the two cars left the area within seconds of each other. Ballistics analysis from Pryor Street recovered shell casings, multiple rounds, all fired from the same weapon. The trajectory analysis confirms what witnesses said. The shots came from a vehicle positioned on the passenger side. Witnesses described the attacking vehicle, the make, the model, the color, how close it pulled alongside Camryn's car, how deliberate the positioning was. And investigators start analyzing the driver's background, his associates, his potential conflicts, the pieces that would eventually lead them to Jacori Echols. But that connection takes time. Weeks turn into months. The case doesn't go cold. Detectives are still working it, but there's no arrest, no public suspect, just a grieving family in South Carolina waiting for answers. Then, in the spring of 2023, just weeks after Camryn's murder, Jacori Echols makes a critical mistake. He commits more crimes. We don't know the exact details. Court records keep certain information sealed, but we know this. The new offenses were serious enough to violate his probation from the 2019 conviction. And probation violations in Georgia don't get ignored, they get you locked up. So Echols gets arrested, gets sent to state prison, not for Camryn's murder, not yet, but for breaking the terms of his release. And while he's sitting in that prison cell, thinking he's just doing time for probation violations, Atlanta police homicide detectives are connecting dots. They're running ballistics. They're analyzing cell phone data. They're interviewing people who know Echols. They're building a case. And in November 2023, 7 months after Camryn died, they have enough. Jacori Echols is formally charged with murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The investigators don't have to hunt him down. don't have to track him across state lines, don't have to worry about him fleeing to avoid arrest. He's already locked up, already in custody, already exactly where they need him to be. Back in Chester, South Carolina, Camryn's community is still mourning. Her funeral, held on April 15, 2023 at Brown's Chapel AME Zion Church, drew hundreds of people. The church was packed. The cemetery overflowed with mourners. Online, the condolences kept coming. Friends, former clients, people whose lives Camryn had touched. Her friend Desaya captured what everyone was feeling in just 2 words: beyond heartbreaking. But now, 7 months later, the family finally has what they've been waiting for. Someone to hold accountable. A name, a face. A person who will answer for what happened to their daughter. The case lands with the Fulton County District Attorney's Major Case Unit. This isn't a case they can afford to lose. High profile, out-of-state victim, a family demanding justice, and a defendant with a criminal history that should have kept him off the streets. Chief Senior Assistant District Attorneys Danielle Russell and Cassie Hall take the lead. Senior Investigator Jason Thomas works with them to organize the evidence, prepare witnesses, build the narrative that will convince a jury. And the charges themselves tell the story better than any opening statement could. Murder. The direct, intentional killing of Camryn Olivia Price. Felony murder. A charge that applies when someone dies during the commission of another serious crime. It doesn't require proving that Echols intended to kill Camryn specifically, just that he was committing a felony and someone died as a result. Aggravated assault. This is the key charge. This is the one that confirms what the family believed from day one. Camryn wasn't the target. The aggravated assault charge means Echols was trying to hurt someone else, the driver, and Camryn died in the process. Possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Because Echols, with his 2019 conviction, wasn't legally allowed to possess a gun in the first place. When you put those 4 charges together, you get the complete picture. Echols intended to assault the driver. He pulled up alongside the vehicle, he opened fire. And Camryn, sitting in the passenger seat, took the bullets meant for someone else. The trial doesn't take long. The evidence is overwhelming. Security footage, ballistics, witness testimony, the driver's account of what happened, cell phone data placing Echols in the area at the exact time of the shooting. The defense has nothing. No alibi, no alternative theory, no way to explain away the mountain of evidence the prosecution presents. The jury deliberates, and when they return, the verdict is unanimous, guilty on all counts. Judge David Emerson handles the sentencing, and this is where the severity of Echols' actions becomes clear. Life without the possibility of parole. That's for the murder charges. It means Jacori Echols will never walk free, will never see the outside of a prison again, will die behind bars. But Judge Emerson isn't finished. Plus 65 years to serve. That's for the aggravated assault and the weapons charge, stacked on top of the life sentence. It's a legal way of saying, even if somehow, through some impossible legal miracle, the murder conviction gets overturned, Echols still isn't getting out. Ever. The message is clear. The court recognizes the brutality of what happened, recognizes that an innocent woman died, recognizes that the system failed when it gave Echols probation instead of prison time back in 2019. For Jesse and Creighton Price, sitting in that courtroom, the verdict brings something they haven't felt in 7 months. Closure, not peace. You don't get peace when your daughter's been murdered, but closure, accountability. The answer to the demand Jesse made in those first agonizing hours after Camryn's death: I want to find out who did it and why, and I want justice to be served. Now they know who. Now they know why, even if the why is as senseless as a conflict that had nothing to do with their daughter. And now justice has been served. Jacori Echols will spend the rest of his life in prison. He will never hurt another innocent person. He will never escalate to another crime. He will never walk past another probation officer who failed to see the danger. He's done. Most families, after going through what the Prices went through, would retreat, would close the door, would spend years just trying to survive the grief. Jesse and Creighton Price chose a different path. Around January 27, 2024, approximately 9 months after Camryn's death, and just weeks after Echols' conviction, they launched the Camryn Olivia Foundation. The The mission is simple, direct, and completely aligned with who their daughter was. Continue her work. The foundation provides scholarships and grants for aspiring beauty professionals, young people who want to pursue careers in cosmetology but can't afford the training. The same kind of students Camryn used to mentor back in Chester. It helps students in need feel beautiful for prom. Exactly what Camryn did when she was alive, providing hairstyling, makeup, confidence to teenagers who couldn't afford professional services. And it embodies the philosophy that defined Camryn's entire approach to life, making people feel good on the inside and outside. Her sister, Jacori Price, explained the foundation's purpose in terms that capture the family's determination. We created this foundation to carry out her name and to continue the legacy of Camryn Olivia Price. Not remember her name. Carry it out. Active. Ongoing. A living extension of what Camryn would be doing if she were still here. The foundation accepts donations through multiple platforms. Email CamrynOliviaFoundation@gmail.com, Venmo Camryn Price-8. It's a way for the community, both in South Carolina and beyond, to participate in keeping Camryn's mission alive, to ensure that her death doesn't define her, to make sure that the last image of her isn't brain tissue exposed in a hospital bed, but rather the smiling, confident young woman who built careers on making others feel beautiful. Camryn's case fits into a category of violence that law enforcement calls collateral victimization. It's when someone dies not because they were targeted, but because they were simply present when violence occurred. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong seat. These cases are particularly tragic because there's no warning, no way to prevent them. Camryn couldn't have known that the man she was dating had enemies, couldn't have known that getting into the passenger seat would cost her life, couldn't have anticipated that someone else's conflict would intersect with her vacation. But her case also exposes something equally troubling: the failure of the probation system. Jacori Echols was convicted of financial crimes in 2019. He received probation, a second chance. The system's way of saying, "We believe you can rehabilitate without prison time." 4 years later, he's involved in a murder. And then after that murder, he commits more crimes, serious enough to violate his probation and land him in state prison. That's not rehabilitation. That's escalation. And it happened while he was supposedly being supervised. How many check-ins did Echols miss? How many warning signs did probation officers overlook? How many chances did the system give him before he finally killed someone? Those are questions that deserve answers. Questions that Georgia's probation system needs to address if we're going to prevent the next Camryn Price. What could have been different? Stricter probation monitoring, better tracking of escalating criminal behavior, red flag systems that catch offenders before they progress from financial crimes to violent crimes. And on a personal level, awareness. Awareness that new relationships carry unknowns, that the person you're dating might have associations, conflicts, enemies you know nothing about. That sometimes the danger isn't who you are, it's who you're sitting next to. But here's what matters most. Camryn's legacy isn't defined by how she died. It's defined by how she lived, by the teenagers she gave confidence to, by the clients she made feel beautiful, by the community she uplifted. And now, through the foundation her family created, that work continues. Sandy, one of Camryn's friends, wrote something in the days after her death that perfectly captures what the Price family is fighting for. May your name never go unspoken, and may your spirit forever be in the presence of your mom, dad, and other loved ones whose lives you touched. That's the goal. That's the mission. Keep her name spoken, keep her spirit alive, keep her work going. Camryn Olivia Price was 21 years old. She was building a career in Chester, South Carolina. She was mentoring young cosmetology students. She was making people feel beautiful, inside and outside. She accepted an invitation for a weekend trip to Atlanta with someone new. Someone she was still getting to know. Someone whose conflicts she knew nothing about. And because she sat in the passenger seat instead of the driver's seat. Because Jacori Echols positioned his vehicle on that specific side. Because someone else's violence crashed into her vacation. She lost her life. Her killer will never walk free. Life without parole plus 65 years means Jacori Echols will die in prison. He'll never have another chance to hurt someone, never have another opportunity to escalate, never walk out of those prison doors. But the Price family chose not to let their daughter's story end in a courtroom. They chose not to let her memory be defined by violence. Through the Camryn Olivia Foundation, they ensure that her life, not her death, defines her legacy. They ensure that students who can't afford beauty school still get a chance, that teenagers who feel invisible get to feel beautiful for prom, that Camryn's mission continues, even though she's no longer here to carry it out herself. If you or someone you know has been affected by collateral violence, by being in the wrong place at the wrong time, by losing someone to a conflict that had nothing to do with them, share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. This community is here to listen. Subscribe for more investigations into cases the media doesn't fully cover. Next week, we examine another case where justice took years to arrive, but eventually did. And remember Camryn's mission: make people feel good on the inside and outside. In a world with so much violence, with so much pain, with so many Jacori Echols walking around on probation when they should be locked up, maybe that's the legacy we all need to carry forward. Not revenge, not anger, not fear. Just the simple act of making others feel good, of building confidence, of creating beauty in a world that often feels ugly. Rest in peace, Camryn Olivia Price, July 7, 2001 to April 4, 2023. Your name will never go unspoken.